I noticed a story in the Atlantic magazine, I think it was. The average monthly payment for a new car in the USA has reached $774, and that's in January of 26. In January of 21, it was only 588. So that's roughly $200 increase in, let's see, 5 years? Seems like a lot. So I wondered what percentage of people's income is that? How can they afford that? How easily can they afford that? So I went looking at those stats. In the USA, roughly $5,000. Quite a few obviously are making more, and some are making less, but the average 5,000, maybe a bit more. In Ecuador, it's 1/10 of that. It's 500. That's the minimum wage. The average, yeah, 500, and the average is around the minimum. The jubilado, the retiree that wants a visa here in retirement class, needs to have 3 times that, or roughly 1,500. In Venezuela, which is a unique case, they've been in a basket economy for a long time, and their situation's not going to get better soon. $217. Obviously, things must cost less there, or people wouldn't still be moving along. Economies tend to adjust to what people have. Not surprisingly, it's better to sell for $1. If you can't get $2, you sell it for $1, and you find ways to make that work. In Argentina, $400 a month, very rural country, and I think that's what's reflected there. Chile, also a rural country, but a lot more money, twice as much as the average monthly, 987. Just about more than double Argentina and double what it is in Ecuador. Now going over into the North and Eastern Atlantic, in Iceland, 3,852. I was there a year in the Navy, and I can well imagine it. It's a Scandinavian country, even though it's quite a ways from the rest of Scandinavia. The United Kingdom, 3,597. A gringo, somebody having lived in the United States, would find the English standard of living a bit lower. I mean, the outward flourishes of it, what it looks like. It's a bit less than the U.S. The streets are narrower and the cars are smaller, that sort of thing. In Ireland, 4,526. That's about $1,000 a month more than in the UK. Don't quite understand that. When I was in Ireland in '98, drove around the country and across the occupied north. And boy, what a great place to live if you had $4,500 a month. In France, 4,091. I spent a nice couple of months in the summer in Clermont-Ferrand in the south. I really liked it. You know, if I hadn't been put into Spain in the Navy, if I had been left to another course in life, I might well have gone to France and learned French. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Germany, 4,426. The most industrialized country in Europe, I'd say, with some peers in that. In Spain, 3,459. In Poland, which is a miracle case in Europe, they're making about 10 times what they were 25 years ago at the end of communism. $3,434 in Poland. I was in Krakow in the south in 2015. Really impressive. They're really entrepreneurs. And German occupation and Soviet occupation didn't knock that out of them, not to the extent it did to the East Germans. Poland doing good, right on Poland. Spain, 3,459, right there with Poland. A wonderful place to live. I was there for years and years in the Navy in the South. This brings us to the quality of life, which is not the same as the income level. I'm afraid a lot of people in the U.S. think it is, and they're going to compare things in that manner. Oh, that's not it at all. You know, if you can live for $1 a day, a nice life, and you're happy with it, and you're healthy, that's fine. $1's enough. In Greece, 2,072, a rural country. You get outside of a couple of big cities, and it takes a lot less to live on, obviously. In Turkey, 1,291. Again, a lot of people out in the countryside. Going over to Asia, Singapore, $5,000. In Hong Kong, 4,664. Now, both of those city-states are unique cases, highly entrepreneurial, rapid business climate, and obviously it drives the prices for things up. Proportionately, there's going to be a ratio between how much people make on average and what things cost on average. That's the cost of living. In Japan, 2,658, and this trend in the population, the reducing of the population, the replacement level being below 2, that's in that demographic somewhere. 2,658 in Japan. In Manila, which represents the Philippines, because otherwise the number would be highly distorted, a very rural country, $532, right in there with Ecuador. That's in Manila. And in the capital of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, $503, also very similar to Ecuador. And I'm sure, like Ecuador, you take that $503 monthly income, and you spend it on inexpensive, to us, inexpensive fruit and vegetable, and you got it fresh, and you got it relatively cheap, and it doesn't eat up your budget. So that's a real blessing here. Good food, and it costs less. None of this talks really about the quality of life, none of these numbers in these various places. There's no comparing apples to bananas or oranges. It's personal taste, or fear of change, fear of trying the banana, fear of being resigned to the familiar and whatever fate might bring. That's when you know it's getting harder and harder to just live, much less buy a car for $800 a month. Oh, and on top of that, the insurance. The example they gave in the Atlantic story was, this poor young woman had to pay, mostly because she's young, she had to pay $200 a month? Yeah, for insurance? Unbelievable. Well, that's the upside of not having any public transportation to speak of in Los Estados Unidos. 16 years in Ecuador has taught me expatriation is a litmus test. Expatriation being leaving the country of your birth. Dip the expat into the new culture, and the indicator of their nature is how they react. Some are tortured by the thought that they might have come 20 years ago. They bemoan the years that they've lost, the years that they weren't here, that they might have been. Others reach a certain point where they can't handle it anymore. These people refuse to learn English. And I certainly can't learn Spanish. They dump their stuff. Oh, that's the best thing about this deal. And they run for the airport. When they dump their stuff, it's pennies on the dollar. They spent far too much bringing it down. They packed a 40-foot container with all of their crapola and brought it down to Ecuador for too much money. And then they reach a crescendo in their maladjustment, and everything's on the auction block. That's where you get the good stuff. I know it sounds like that scene in Treasure of Sierra Madre where the bandito hasn't even shot the gringo yet, and he's looking at his boots. Before I kill you, I want to look at those boots. Yeah, I'm getting this one. They start fighting over the boots even before. Well, when a gringo packs up to go, everybody descends on his household goods, and we fight over that and give him some pennies for the dollar. Then they flee to the devil they know, Los Estados Unidos, el Tigre del Norte, the big country up north. There's such a variety in people, isn't there? You got to love them, according to Jesus. I don't know that I love them that much, but they're better some than others. Well, you're one of the good ones, I know, for sure, especially if you hit the subscribe button. I'm starting to realize that, yeah, the algorithm cares about the subscribe button. They share the money with you, assuming you're drawing any advertising dollars. But on a personal level, it's a validation. So somebody thought enough of what I'm doing here, silly as it is, that they push that little button down there, that red box that says subscribe. So if you feel like doing it, I do appreciate it. And I wish you the best in the days and weeks ahead. Take care of yourself. Enjoy, because I hope it gets better for you, but the odds are that it won't. So enjoy it now, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.